Hi, this is Contixo Repair, and today we're going to be replacing the flight controller main board on the F6. Sometimes you have the issue where your motors burn out, and that also burns out the motor driver on the flight controller. And you can tell when it's burnt out when you smell a burnt electronic smell coming from the inside of the drone, and your new motor that you replace still does not run correctly. So to start this repair, you're going to flip the drone onto its backside, and there's these 12 screws on the body of the drone you're going to need to take out to access the inside. And to make it a little easier, we're going to pull the camera out first. Now we begin unscrewing. And I like to have a magnet on my screwdriver to lift the screws out. Makes life a little bit easier. And last screw. Okay, so now we can just lift it up, and the top half of the frame is just going to go to the side. And now you can see the flight controller. Alright, so you can see there's these connectors, and each one goes in a specific place. These ones are the motor ones, they're the larger connectors, and the smaller connectors are for the lights. And these are the motor drivers that sometimes burn out. And usually what happens is they burn the board as well, so it's really difficult to solder it if you can't even do that. So now to remove the flight controller, we're going to have to take out 4 screws over here and 2 screws holding the battery connector. So we'll start with the battery connector. Just put those screws to the side, make sure you don't lose them. And now all you gotta do is lift your flight controller out, grab your new one, place it back in, start with the battery connectors. And you're gonna wanna make sure everything's lined up pretty well. And we'll start with the flight controller screws. to place them slightly hand tight, but don't screw them all in. Don't screw them in all the way until you've put all 4 screws in place. Now we're going to make sure they're just hand tight. And now we're going to place the screws in for the battery connector. Make sure these screws are hand tight as well. And now we're going to start by plugging in the connectors in again. So we'll start with the motors. And they go into their ports on each side. When you install the flight controller, make sure to have the battery connector facing the back of the drone and have the camera connectors facing the front. So just plug the large connectors into large connector ports. There should be one on each corner, and the closest motor will go into that corner. And then we're going to start. Next, we're going to do the light connectors, and they also go on the 4 corners. And you're going to want to make sure you watch out for this one on the back left side, and that goes into this port. And you're going to want to make sure you plug in the back left motor or back left light connector into this port, and the light for the back of the drone into this port. And place it in just like that. And then you're going to want to make sure your wires are to the sides. You can just press them into place slightly with your screwdriver. And the back wires you can just press to the inside of the drone. And next you're going to install your frame cover. And everything should just fit into place. And then you're going to want to hold it for the first few screws that you put into place, just to make sure everything's in its right spot. So you have a wire sticking out a little bit right here, so I'm just going to grab my screwdriver and press it back in a little. There we go. Grab your 12 remaining screws. Starting with the back end makes it a little easier. As the wires bunch up a little bit back there. Flip it around. Put 2 more screws in the front. So now that all your screws are back in place, you can flip the drone over, grab your camera, place it back inside, and that is how you replace the flight controller on the F6 drone.